Sometimes the most powerful financial journey begins when you have nothing, because starting from zero forces you to see money for what it really is. Not luck, not magic, but the outcome of clear thinking, patient decisions, and small actions repeated long enough to matter. When you feel like you're at the bottom, that's often the moment when the mind is sharpest, because there's no illusion, no comfort, no distractions, only the realization that something has to change. And that feeling, as uncomfortable as it is, becomes the starting point of building wealth with clarity and discipline. Most people believe they need money before they can make progress. But the truth is that wealth begins as a mindset long before it becomes a number. When you begin to understand how money flows, how skills grow, and how habits shape your future, you're no longer controlled by your starting point. You start to see opportunities that were always around you, but invisible, until you trained your mind to notice them. Building wealth from zero starts with understanding that money mirrors your decisions, not your circumstances. Many financially successful people began with very ordinary backgrounds, but they developed one powerful insight early. Your first source of wealth is your ability to think long-term, when everyone else is chasing quick rewards. The moment you decide to stop spending your energy on excuses and instead invest it into learning, improving, and taking small, consistent steps, you change your financial direction. Even if you don't have money today, you can strengthen the habits that eventually create it. Habits like controlling small expenses, being intentional with your time, building a useful skill, and avoiding the traps of comparison and distraction. Wealth grows from patience, not pressure. Point one of the most practical ways to build wealth from zero is by improving your skill set, because skills are the only asset no one can take from you. A strong skill turns time into value, and value into income. You don't need expensive degrees or complicated tools. You only need curiosity and consistency. When you start learning skills that help people solve problems, opportunities begin to appear naturally. You may not see results immediately, and that's normal. The early stages are slow and often invisible. But this is where most people give up. They stop just before momentum begins. You don't need perfect conditions. You only need to outlast the impatience that stops others. Another important mindset shift is understanding that building wealth is less about speed and more about direction. Many people think they need to take big risks to change their financial situation. But real progress usually comes from steady, thoughtful choices. Things like learning to save a small percentage of income, avoiding unnecessary debt, and focusing on long-term stability create a foundation that supports everything else. Even if the numbers look small at first, you're training your mind to prioritize growth instead of impulse. This habit alone separates those who eventually build wealth from those who continue to struggle. When you're starting from zero, your environment matters as much as your effort. The voices you listen to shape the decisions you make. If you constantly hear negativity, doubt, or fear, you start believing that your situation cannot change. But when you surround yourself, physically or digitally, with people who talk about discipline, skills, patience, and growth, your mind becomes more capable of making good decisions. You don't need to copy anyone's life, but you can learn from the patterns of people who think clearly about money. Their clarity becomes your clarity. Another step toward building wealth from zero is learning to separate wants from needs. Most people try to look successful before they become successful, and that trap keeps them stuck. The truth is, saying no to unnecessary spending is not deprivation, it's discipline. Every small decision you make today determines the opportunities you can access tomorrow. When you learn to use money intentionally, even in small amounts, you gain control over your financial future. And that control is where wealth begins. As you progress, you'll start noticing something powerful. Wealth is not built by chasing money, but by understanding how money rewards value. When you create value through skills, problem solving, consistency, or service, money naturally follows. This mindset makes the process less stressful and more sustainable. You stop trying to get rich and start trying to grow smarter. And that shift alone puts you ahead of most people. Eventually, your efforts compound. Small savings turn into stability, small skills turn into opportunities, and small habits turn into confidence. You start recognizing patterns in how money flows, and you become better at making decisions that support your long-term goals. You no longer feel stuck because you understand that wealth is not built in a moment. It's built in seasons, and every season prepares you for the next. So, if you're starting from zero today, remember this: you're not behind. You're simply at the beginning of a new financial chapter that countless successful people once stood in. Your future is shaped by the thoughts you choose, the habits you build, and the small actions you repeat. You don't need a perfect plan, a lucky break, or a higher income right now. You only need the courage to begin, the patience to continue, and the discipline to keep improving even when the results are small. The wealth you want tomorrow starts with the decisions you make today. And if you stay consistent, stay curious, and stay disciplined, you'll look back one day and realize that starting from zero was the moment your entire financial life began to rise.